Hello, we are The Ones, a Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live discussion podcast. And let's just talk about the elephant in the room, right? Let's talk about last week. Um, Let me say how I engage with story, because I think there seems to be some kind of confusion about, you know, the criticism and the nitpicking and this, and I couldn't figure out what the heck everybody was talking about because I felt like, what did we nitpick? And then, I thought about it. I was like, maybe, some people, not all, but some people conflate natural story engagement with criticism. Like, for instance, if I'm watching a scary movie and, the chick runs upstairs instead of running out the front door when the killer is chasing her, when I scream at the television, like how stupid she is, and, that is not me criticizing the writing. That is not me criticizing the writer and thinking I'm better than the writer. It's not me hating on the story. That is me engaging with the story, because when I write fanfic and original, my favorite responses and comments from people are the ones when they go into detail, like dragging my character for filth like they're an actual real person. Like, I love it. There's nothing better. I'll take that over someone saying, "Oh, this was great. Thanks." Anytime. I mean, I appreciate everyone who reads it and even and leaves that comment too. But the ones where they just like drag my characters for filth, I love it. So if that's not how you engage with story, that's fine. But that's how I engage with story. And it doesn't mean when I'm, having these feelings about these characters and their actions that I'm nitpicking and that I'm hating on it, or I'm ripping the show, or I'm, ripping the writer or disrespecting the writer, So that's how I feel about that. Ashley, is there anything that you want to say about
There is.
last week?
I'm right there with you. I don't know if I love it when people drag my characters, but I like detailed feedback. That's amazing. But yeah, the main thing I wanted to address was the insults. Like, again, if you disagree with our assessments, I think that's totally fine. I'll speak for myself and say I was always thinking that we would look at this with a more critical eye because it was a little bit more elevated with Andy and I's input, and we were just excited to kind of dig into that. If you feel like that's nitpicking and that's not your cup of tea, that's fine. Like, I totally get that. I personally don't like when people, like, if I love something and the person I'm listening to doesn't love it, it annoys me too. So I would just turn it off. But I think the problem arises when you accuse us of like ulterior motives or like being jealous that we're not writing the show or whatever it was said. Um, and the worst accusation for me was that we were tearing down Danai's work when personally I did almost nothing but praise it. Like, we outright disliked one thing. And I think that's okay. Most of our critiques were tempered with like understanding or caveats or even rebuttals. So yeah, I think also we were able to dissect Michonne's actions and Rick's actions because then I did give us so much to work with. And so the idea that we were tearing down her, like, I adore Danae. I think we all do. So it was really kind of insulting to see that, especially. And also the idea that we're just fan fiction writers. So we have no right to kind of speak on Danai's writing. Also pretty insulting because, first of all, it's not accurate. We are all professional writers as well. I have the checks to prove it. But even if we were just fan fiction writers, here's the thing. Even if we were just fans of the show, that doesn't mean that our our opinions are any less valid. So it's not that we were unable to grasp Michonne's evolution because we wrote fan fiction. I just thought in some places Michonne was handling it badly. Like, that's just it. And Michonne said herself, this was something that it was turning her into someone she didn't recognize. Then I said herself in her interview with Yvette, Michonne went into this naively. So we were just picking up what then I was putting down. I was discussing it, not bashing, but discussing a character's actions, what we wish was different, does not mean we dislike the character, the episode, the series. It doesn't mean we don't understand. It just, we were looking at it from like all the different sides. And if you disagree, again, that's totally fine. But I think you can do that without resorting to like insulting us or our work or our intelligence. So that's it for me.
All right. Imani, did you want to say anything?
Just picking up where you guys left off. I think that when we decided to do this, we very deliberately said that we weren't going to be a reaction show. We were going to be a discussion show. And we made a point repeatedly of saying that this is a discussion show. If people are interested in a reaction, that is nothing but like praise and just being like, this is the best thing we've ever seen, which, I mean, in some respects, definitely regarding Walking Dead, this is some of the best stuff we've ever seen. But if that's all you're interested in, then there are a dozen other podcasts that you can listen to and get exactly what you're looking for. That's not what we're doing. Like Ashley said, we're digging in. And I think that it's kind of unfair to us to attack, to reduce what we're doing to just saying that we don't get it or that we're bashing Black women or something like that. When, first of all, we are Black women. We love Black women. We love this particular Black woman, Denai. We love that particular Black woman, Michonne. So, I mean, that's just factually inaccurate. And then on top of it, there are people who tune in because they're interested in what we're trying to say and the discussion we're trying to engage in. And when I'll speak for myself, when I feel like we're being bullied into trying to just praise or not engage with the material as it's being given because people don't like hearing it, it kind of dampens the fun for me. Like I said, I can't speak for Tanisha and Ashley, but it's less fun to do this. And none of us are getting paid to do this. We're doing this for the love of the show and the love of the characters. And I think that, my enthusiasm has taken like a dip, honestly, taken a hit because of this. And that's not fair to the people who tune in, who wanted to hear what we have to say and who continue to want to hear what we have to say, because now we may, or I'll speak for myself, I may have to sort of temper what I think because I don't want to be attacked, personally attacked, some kind of ad hominem about like what my motives are when I don't agree. Like, that's all it is. It's like, I don't agree. And it's with the character. It's not, again, like Tanisha said, it's not with the writing necessarily. And it's definitely not with, what Denai was trying to do, because that was a masterclass. So I just think that it's unfortunate that, I feel a little robbed of the fun of this. And I feel like other people will be feeling robbed of some of what we had to say. Period.
Right. So let's get started. I'm gonna still get these jokes in. Huh?
Let's try to talk about episode 5.
I'm gonna get these jokes in. So
listen, I had a good time on Twitter last night. So
episode 5. Look, we've already had some discussions about this, and some of the submissions are interesting. In fact, I'm going to start with one of them. Jess, she said, "I love Rick and Michonne and their love with all my heart. Many congrats on the wedding, but this episode left me a little meh. Too many callbacks, perhaps. Can't put my finger on it. And maybe it was this deep drop off in the quality of the dialogue from last week." So kind of let's start with that. Ashley, like, what were your overall thoughts of episode 5?
Yeah, I definitely see where Jess is coming from. I did have like those kind of not really quibbles, but just moments where the dialogue didn't quite feel as natural. Overall, I thought it worked as a really great partner to 7, 12, and well, all of Rashawn's moments really. But I was like 4 minutes into the episode. Whenever they were sitting in front of that mural, I was like, oh, this is Say Yes again.
Mm-hmm.
So I like that about it. I think this entire series has reminded me a lot of season 7 Rashawn, where things started off very rocky. There was this distance between them. They had these different ideologies about how to handle Negan. And just in case I need to say it again, I do like when they don't agree. I am very much into that. People who love each other arguing is my whole entire shit. So I like it. And so to see the series mirror that time in their lives, and then we come to 7-12 where they kind of are back on the same page, I thought was really good. Definitely some fan service in there. But and it didn't some places like Jess said it didn't feel quite natural, but I think that they did a really good job of mining the past in the way that Michonne fans would notice, because I don't know how many people
Mm-hmm.
just generally watching The Walking Dead would even know what spearmint and baking soda means, or like the deer head. I don't know that that means anything to them, but they were so instantly recognizable to us, to Michonne fans. And so I appreciate that level of detail, which again, I don't know that we would have gotten without the input of Andy and I playing such a big role in crafting the story.
Mm-hmm. Imani. How do you always laugh when I
Lord.
I laugh because, as, hater number one.
Yeah, yes, hater number one. What are your thoughts? Aaron Balance gave us hers.
Oh yes, clear, fair and balanced. Okay. Yes, has had her moment. So let me start hating. No, I actually I liked the episode a lot. I mean, it's in of the 5 episodes, it's not number 5. So that's saying something, like in the order of my preferences. So, there's that. And also, I like Ashley said, I appreciated all the callbacks and stuff. I appreciated all the stuff that I recognized from being a Rochon fan for, forever. I did think that it was a little fan servicey, specifically because of that, because there was so much of that like sort of built in, and it was like hit after hit after hit, like it was like going through, it was like greatest hits kind of. And that robbed it of some of its like authenticity to me, like to a new
naturalness
story. Yeah, like exactly, there was some a kind of performative thing that I felt was kind of happening, like let's give all the fans what what they've always wanted, like let's run down the list, the checklist of everything that a Rishon fan would want to see, and let's hit every note. And I appreciate that. I deeply appreciate that. And I feel as if we had 10, 12 episodes, this would have been amazing. But since there's also another story, a further story that we're supposed to be telling too, this kind of interlude to do this kind of felt like wasted space. Again, loved all of it. Just felt like I was being pandered to.
Well, see, you're a Black woman. You're not used to being pandered to.
There you go.
We don't know what that's like. But no, I mean, I'll pick up on that because and I think it's one of the things for me, because there's only 6 episodes and all I'm thinking about is, are we getting back home to the babies? Like, that's all I want. And so, yeah, I felt like we got all those Rochon moments that we love, and it was great seeing them together. But while we were seeing this, I was thinking about, okay, like we got one more episode left. How long is that episode going to be? Is there going to be like some kind of time jump again, or like what is it? Because that's all I'm like, the babies. Why are we here? Like if I can't get the babies, and so yeah, I agree with what you guys were saying about that. I love the Michonne of it, but I just felt like we're running out of runway.
Yeah.
And I know they're not. Part of me just was going to take them at their word, and they're like, "This is a 6-episode event." So I'm like, but then the other part of me is like, "There's no way.
It can't
Like,
be.
there's
Yeah.
no way
How?
there can
Yeah.
only be
How?
just 6 episodes of this show." But then again, the way they talk about this, like Walking Dead, like universe, maybe this only gets 6 episodes because the point of this was just to get them back together,
Mhm.
not necessarily back to the kids and back to team family, but just that was that part, right? And then there will be another story somewhere else, and it'll get bigger. So that's kind of my fear. But yeah, we'll see what happens.
I think also I was feeling that because there was so much Jadis. I'm like, we don't need this much backstory on this lady. Just kill her. So that was my frustration. Not necessarily the Michonne of it, but like we could be doing something else with all this time. We going back to Jadis and Gabriel, neither of which I care at all about. So
yeah, because I want to talk about them, but at once. So
yeah, I was going to say,
we'll just do it all. I don't want to pepper it in the order. Like we just talk about them at once near the end.
Okay.
So so it starts when we get to the Michonne and Rick of it all. They're having their like you said, say yes. Honeymoon 2.0. And they're in Wyoming. They come across this van. Well, you have the music, right? And it's the music lines up perfectly.
Shout out Tony Bennett.
It lines up perfectly with what they're going through, right? Everything is just coming up roses. It's a good life. Everything's perfect. That they come across this van and it's got these tasty nudes. Ha ha ha. They got their noodles and
tasteful nudes.
Tasteful nudes. Tasteful nudes.
Which was that a thing before in 2010? That felt like more recent.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it was nudes, but I don't think about it like I think of it now. So yeah, I'm not sure. So they were, and again, it was like they were eating them by this fire. The mural of Wyoming was behind them. It kind of called back to them eating the MREs in that gymnasium or whatever. Then they come across a vending machine, and it's like covered by these vines, and it's like, then wow, what's coming around the corner is a walker with like a machete. Like everything is like perfect. Everything is going great, right? They're on the road. Everything perfect. So nice, and they're driving on the road. Rick takes out the phone, the little sketch of Carl, so he's still there with them. They get to like they're in a national park, and they get to where it looks like a visitor center or like a souvenir shop.
Yeah.
And they're in there, and again, this is where you have a lot of those Michonne callbacks. So Ashley, speak about that scene when they're in the that like visitor center.
So yeah, this was I feel like this was the moment I knew that I was going to love this episode. I was a little bit wrong. I did love Michonne stuff. But when Rick, they're in there, Rick they're talking about the little tags, and Michonne's like, I would never find my name. And I was like, oh, can't relate. I'm sure you guys can.
Like, I relate, girl.
I know. I imagine so many Black girls can. But yeah, and there was a couple of people pointed this out, but when he finds the junior plate, there's also a Richard and a Rick right there. I was like, why don't you just get both of them? Perfect. Anyway, he's talking to Michonne about RJ, which I'm very happy about because, last episode he was being weird about it. So he's getting to know his son through Michonne, which I think is very sweet. And, he finds a Michelle necklace that he turns into an M. I was thinking she already has an M necklace, but I assume she lost it at some point getting to the CRM. So it's nice that he got that for her. And then, they talk about the toothpaste that he never found for her. He had gotten for her, but, lost it thanks to Jesus. So he's finally gotten it for her 10 years later. Who knows how long it's been?
Yeah, roughly.
Yeah, something like that. So I thought it was really, this was my favorite callback because that is such a special moment in Michonne's history. And when he says, you know, I was in love with my son's best friend, I just screamed at the TV. I'm like, yes, again, fan service, but this was kind of confirmation for all the Rishoners out there, the Rishon truthers who, you know, people would make fun of us. Like, what are you talking about? I don't see it. They're just friends, blah, blah, blah. And it's retconning kind of, but it's still like, actually, you guys are right. And I'm wondering, what does this mean for that time period of The Walking Dead? Did he realize this in the time jump between 609 and 610? Or was it before that? What do you guys think?
I think it was probably building. It was building during that time. Like, I think he was very genuinely grateful for the way she kind of turned Carl around, like, for him, like, and brought him kind of back. And I think that just progressed and progressed until, you know,
that day.
Yeah, until that day. I always thought it was interesting the way that they always said, well, it's, you know, once everything settled down, they kind of were like, oh, and I was like, I feel like that's not necessarily how things work generally.
Right,
it's like
right.
You're building to that. And maybe it's because of that moment where there's nothing else going on and everything's calm that you can act on it. But I don't think that's when the realization, like,
Well, I mean,
they kind of acted like that was when the realization.
Well, that just makes his behavior with Jesse all the more trash.
I mean, but it was.
So it's like, oh, you're seeing this with her, but you're, you know, being stupid with Jesse.
I think that because my working theory is that if Terminus had been like a real place and not an actual nightmare, then it would have happened then because they were building to it at that point. But because what happened with them was so traumatizing, and then he was just so unable to trust as they got into Alexandria, that was the part that he wasn't able to see. And so saving this white lady was his next best option. And once that didn't work out and everything with Carl and them rebuilding the community, it kind of just built from there. Built back. He was able to see clearly again what he was growing toward in season 4.
I think talking about how he says that he'd fallen in love with his son's best friend, but also it made me think about our podcast preview, one of our preview episodes, and specifically season 4, episode 1. Where, you know, he comes to the gate and she comes back to the prison, and the whole thing with Daryl looking up at Rick, and like I thought of that when he talks about, you know, falling in love with his with his son's friend. And I get it, and she was his friend, but I just hate the way it's said.
Yeah, same. I just didn't like that at all, because I was just kind of like, that kind of reduces their relationship a little bit, because, like, yes, Carl started out as or rather Michonne started out as Carl's friend, but it very quickly changed to definitely a mother figure. So, I mean, that, how do you say that? Like, I understand just the logistics of kind of saying that. Like, my son's surrogate mother does not sound quite as
doesn't
work quite as well.
Or my friend, I was falling in love.
I mean, my best friend.
My best friend. Yeah, but I think it's the theme of the show, or their relationship really, is that Carl was the conduit for them. So that's why they, you know, keep that in there, and I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Please, y'all. I didn't say that, y'all. So
when we were having the conversation offline, we did say that, because we were like, oh, my best friend. But then we were like, but they're honoring Carl by still, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
So, you know, they start making out a little bit, but then she notices something, and she goes over and they find the key to a cabin. And they head out, and when they head out, they hear the screams and they save these 3 people who I don't know how they're still alive after all this time, particularly since this is your area of the country and you've explained these walkers, but these people who've never seen these walkers before are the ones that save you from them. Like, okay. So, they save them. And then, the guys pull guns on them to rob them because Michonne gave them food. She was like, oh, they look hungry. And then they go and give them noodles. And I was like, why are you so what? Because they look hungry. Like, that's what got you in trouble. But I love the fact that they were so unbothered, Rick and Michonne, when these guys pulled these guns. Like, there was no fear whatsoever. It was just like they were annoyed. Like, you delaying us from getting, where we need to go. And so Amani, talk about, that moment with those survivors that they rescued.
Well, I like you said, I just kind of was like, well, what are you guys still doing out here? And why haven't you gone into the cabins yourself if they're right there? Like, why aren't you living in the visitor center? But, questions we should be asking. Okay, so I agree. I thought that it was like, I really enjoyed the fact that they were completely unbothered by it. I also thought it was kind of interesting because, old Rick, now, I mean, old Rick, because Rick has had very many permutations, and unfortunately, they've gone back and forth over the same kind of territory. But old Rick would have killed them for the simple fact that they might come back. They might become a problem like later. And
it took us a while to learn that.
Yes, yeah, and they did, but he, at this moment in time where he is right now, probably because, he hasn't been out there in a long time. So he was just kind of like, you guys are really annoying, and just tell us that you're not gonna hurt anybody else. And the guy's even like not wanting to do it, which is weird to me. I'm like,
right.
They've got a gun in your face and they don't look like they won't use it, but you're still like, why do you care? Why do you care if we do it? And it's like, dude, like, just say, and which is what Michonne ends up saying. She ends up being like, just tell us you won't. Like, it's not even like you have to. Just tell us that you won't do it, and we will let you all go. And so that they do. But I liked the little interaction between Rick and them and Michonne and them, and then Rick and Michonne with each other during that scene. It was very much like capable, super couple doing their thing.
I'm going to back up for a second because before they come across these guys, there's the sign. It says, like, protect the park from the people, take the people from the park, and the people from the people. And that's going to come up a couple more times. And one of the things that one of the guys said was like, he was like, why do you care basically about protecting other people? He's like, these days you look after you. Anything else is just a fairy tale. Walking Dead always has these moments where you're like, yo, stick a pin in it. I get it. I see what you're saying, and so we stuff like that is going to come back in this episode. So, after they leave this group, they get back to the cabin, Ashley. And Rick, has found booze. And they talk about, Michonne talks about being, it's like us against the world. And he's like, or saving it. And I was like, okay, you still haven't
there you go.
let that go. Okay. How did you feel about that moment in the cabin?
Well, going back to the necklace, this is when he gives it to her. I wish, or maybe it was too on the nose, and maybe it's because they didn't do it. But that was a moment he could have said to replace the one you lost, like he did about the cat. But that was the sentiment was there. He gave her new necklace. I think, it's really, really nice to see Michonne smile like that. Just this quiet moment, the two of them, candlelight. People have been asking me why Rick is drinking so much, and I'm like, why not? But do you guys have any thoughts about that?
I mean,
I don't think
this
it's
is
that.
more than he's ever. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah,
We
I think
didn't
so.
see
Yeah.
them imbibing a lot, just period.
No.
Right.
Mm-mm.
Right.
But
Didn't.
I think probably Thorne was bad. And probably also, like, what else is he going to do? He was living alone
Right.
for
I mean, yeah.
8
It's just
years.
him.
It's just him. It's him in a bottle in his
yeah,
hand.
not his hand.
No, well, one hand.
Well, he still has his right hand. Yeah.
Exactly.
But yeah, I mean, it's very much noticeable because we don't see it. We never saw it. Not just him, but anyone in The Walking Dead. We had it in
It was rare. Yeah.
season 2 with Nebraska.
Yeah.
We also saw in Say Yes when they swiped the beer from those saviors, Rick and
The
Michonne.
moonshine.
They had a moment then too. But we didn't really get to see it, that much. So it seems like, I mean, because I was definitely like, wow, here we are. There's another bottle. There's another bottle. But
Yeah.
it's not a lot, but it feels like just the way it was played, it feels like this is a regular occurrence. It wasn't just, and the same thing with Thorne. It was like,
Yeah.
it felt a little sloppy when they would start.
Well, they were drinking buddies.
Mhm.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder, because I remember Abraham was kind of drinking. Are they trying to say something about soldiers being alcoholics?
I mean, maybe
There is a problem.
Remember,
I mean, to be
I
honest.
mentioned it, but remember there was the whole moonshine thing with Beth
Daryl and
and
Beth.
Daryl too, when
Oh,
they
God, yeah, I
when they
forgot about
found
that.
the distillery or whatever and
Mhm.
got like drunk and stuff on the moonshine. So
Mhm.
I mean, there is some imbibing happening
Mhm.
occasionally, but
Yeah.
it's been a lot. You're
I
absolutely
think
right.
it's definitely been more pointed in this series. Oh, and people are worried Rick's an alcoholic, and I'm like, I don't think that's what they're saying. I do think it
No.
is purposeful to how he's feeling, but this was happy drinking. So
Yes.
And sponsored by Johnny Walker Black. So
yes.
there's that too.
And you mentioned Ashley about the gifts, and when it comes to Michonne,
Mm-hmm.
he's definitely a thoughtful gift giver. Like I
Mhm.
love people who pay attention.
Yes.
Like, and it doesn't have to be expensive. It has to be something that is useful. Like I like, practical gifts. I like, something I'm gonna use. And so if it's you've been listening to me talk about
Mhm.
something in particular, and then that's, I'm like, ooh, this is great. I love it. But yeah, he's really good at giving the gifts. So
That's his love language, I think.
yes,
One of
very
them.
nice.
Absolutely.
They fall asleep. We see and they've made some not necessarily booby traps, but something that'll alert them to, noise. And are you laughing or crying? I'm
Really?
not quite sure.
Because I thought you were going to say we see the 3 raccoons.
I mean, I was going to say,
Oh.
we see the 3 raccoons come up on the cabin because I can't not see it anymore. But they, take apart the, whatever little trap, the alarm that they've created. And yes, and it did. When I looked at it, I was like, wow, it does look like 3 raccoons in the trench coat. It's weird. And I'm assuming it's because of her uniform, her like Kevlar and stuff, but it is weird. So yeah, then, surprise, surprise, Jadis did not think they were dead. And she pops up and, gives them their wake up call. And she's standing there with these 2 guns on them. And Amani, how did you think that was going to go when we got to that scene with her with the guns on them?
I mean, I didn't expect that, like Jesus Part 2, but and this is not a nitpick, it's a quibble.
Uh-oh.
It was nighttime when she broke through and she wakes them up in the morning, which, like with Jesus, I'm like, exactly how long have you been here?
Just staring at
Just
them.
waiting.
Well, that happened last episode too. Like when they were talking, it was kind of dark outside in the apartment. And then when Rick looks out to see that the helicopter had crashed, there was a lot more light outside
But
than
the
there
sun was
before.
rising. I actually
Yes,
paid
but they
attention.
were
The sun was
there was
rising.
no
Yeah.
time shift.
No, it was
they were
short. It was short.
having a
Yeah.
conversation. But yeah,
They
so
This is
yes,
a little bit more drastic though, because it was
it
definitely
was.
like
So
nighttime, and
yes,
then when she's
after
like,
she
"Wake
watched
up,
them
bro."
sleep.
Exactly, for a few hours.
Several hours
Decided
of
to
just staring at them. Listen, I can
staring
relate.
at
I'd
them
probably do the
sleeping.
same, honestly.
It's a nice couple.
It is.
And then of course they hop out of bed. So clearly they haven't lost that like where's the weapons, hop out of bed, ready to fight. And she's got two guns on them. I don't know why. But I guess it works.
Looks cool.
And yeah, I mean, yeah, it's fine.
I like that red gun.
What's red's red gun, I guess.
Yeah.
And then although I didn't hear the guy say his name was Red. Well,
I wasn't sure whose name was Red, but
yeah, but she said red's red gun, so
Yeah.
I thought it was somebody, but I was like, I didn't remember.
No, they said
hearing
it
that.
again later too. So somebody's name was definitely Red. I just
Oh, okay.
did he have red hair? I don't know.
I mean, I don't know, but yeah. So I'm glad I wasn't like losing it when I thought I heard that. Okay.
Mhm.
And then I don't know if you wanted me to go as far as this, but I just have to say it again. Quibble, not nitpick. Rick does not have a wrist and a hand to put the zip tie on. So I was unclear why both his hands were behind his back. And I was thinking, Jadis is really stupid because why is she falling for this?
Like she
He's
looked
really
to make
selling
sure.
that she tied him up to the bed.
Exactly. Like she's very much, I mean, she didn't look. She didn't make sure.
She was like this. She peeked over to make sure that they were doing what they seemed to be doing.
I didn't even.
I watched it several times. I was like, why was she? Okay, she did.
I don't understand why she even did that, because I'd be like,
Right.
where's your other
Where's
arm?
your hand going? Yes.
Exactly, because you're not wearing your thing, so your prosthesis. So what is she zip tying? Like, what is happening? Where is your? So that
I would definitely have questions, but Jadis,
I just felt like that should have been a red flag if I was had a gun on somebody. That would have been a red flag for me, that you're pretending to have your hands behind your back when clearly you don't. I just needed to get that off my chest.
No, that's fair.
And then, because you have said, Jadis, that these two together, and we heard it at least twice in this episode. Yes. At least in this episode, but we heard it in a previous episode when she told Rick. But at least twice in this episode, she talks about how, they could do anything. They can,
they're an amazing
couple. And I just don't understand. Like, she mentioned that there was someone before that she didn't get to talk to, basically, and get everything out that she wanted to before she killed them. And she was talking about Huck, who was a CRM soldier. You can watch The World Beyond or, read the wiki, but, that's what she was talking about. And I just, and I hate when characters do this. Like, it's necessary for, it doesn't work without it, but we're having this conversation and you consider them such a threat. Like, even the way, like, Michonne was mean mugging her, I would have shot Michonne in her damn thigh. I have already said numerous times that you two are dangerous. It's 2-on-1.
Right.
And you have no fear Like,
They don't. They were talking about
no
her like
fear.
she was not there.
Like, she was not there. She was like rude. I was like beyond. Like, they was mad disrespectful. Like, that is just how much you are a joke to them. Like, I would
Exactly.
have popped Michonne in the thigh. Like, you're not gonna look at me like you're nuts. But go ahead.
Can we just make a point of saying that you are joking
About what?
about Michonne and
No,
you don't
not.
want to see her getting
Yes,
shot?
you are.
Yes, you are.
If I am Jadis,
Yes.
and
Listen, I
feel
understood what you're
these
saying.
people are look, yeah, if you think I think personally that Michonne should have been shot, I'm deleting your comment and I'm banning you from the channel. Like, stop. Stop.
We're just,
Be serious.
being
But
clear.
yes, if I am Jadis, and maybe Jadis should have took my advice and maybe she'd still be alive. But
Well,
dang.
thank God she didn't, because oh my God.
But yeah, go ahead about the whole thing, Imani.
Oh, just that, so of course they take a moment of distraction while she's monologuing well, actually she had stopped monologuing. She was like, let's get to it. And she tried to shoot, but they scattered at
How
that
she
moment.
missed, I do not know. But yeah, and just to be clear,
with two guns on both of
Michonne
them.
didn't tie him to the bed. He wasn't Superman in strength. She just zip tied it around his wrist. So, and then why did she have Rick do the thing, like make it tight? Why didn't she just do it herself?
Because
like with her own teeth?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
Jadis?
No,
it was teamwork.
Michonne.
Oh.
Remember she gave it to Rick and he used his mouth to tighten the zip tie around Michonne's wrist.
It was all on account of her dental hygiene.
Okay. I was like, why
I guess teamwork, she's giving some of her babe something to do so that she, to prove.
She helped him, he helped her.
Exactly.
Well, I'm just glad he didn't pull his arm out and give up the gag that he was supposed to be tied to the bed. But yeah.
Apparently Jadis would not have noticed anyway.
I mean, seriously. So anyway, so they scatter and Rick gets under the bed and then he lifts it up and pushes Jadis back, and Michonne uses that opportunity to get onto the ground and grab the little hatchet that she was going to give to RJ. And we didn't talk about that, but just the idea that, okay, so RJ gets a hatchet because Judith has a sword and they're like mommy and daddy. It's a thing. I was like, is that where we are now? Okay.
I'm into it.
So, but anyway, she uses that hatchet to deal a blow to Jadis. That I think, honestly, I think she would have died anyway from the blood loss if she hadn't.
Like it.
So yeah, so this is
I'm very glad that Michonne got to get her link back.
Well, and she was very intent on that, and she grabs.
As she should be.
Yeah, she grabs the gun and she's shooting after Jadis, and Rick kind of has to slow her down to be like, look, we kind of need her alive. You cannot kill her right now. I know that's what you want to do. And despite the fact that I was saying in other episodes that this is a new Michonne, that maybe 5, 10 years later, Michonne than the Michonne we knew from before the time jump, this moment and going forward with Jadis reminded me of the Michonne we knew back in season 3, who it was after the governor and was like, I'm gonna kill this dude. She was definitely in that mode. It was her face, her whole demeanor was giving me season 3 Michonne, slightly vindictive, but righteously so. I'm planning to kill this bitch.
I think it is so justified this time. I mean, it was justified before, but this time, I was so glad she got to express what all of us have been thinking about, what Jadis took from their family. And so, I'm 1000% with her. Kill that bitch.
Well, I mean, and like I said, I mean, that's not a, that wasn't me saying that I didn't think it was good or justified.
No,
that
yeah,
was
it
just saying,
reminds you of it.
I recognize her.
Yeah.
Like the Michonne that I feel like I've been seeing, I didn't quite recognize. But this Michonne, I recognize.
Mm-hmm.
And you understand why
exactly.
I just want to point that out just in
yes,
case it's not clear. We
know
are with
why.
Michonne.
Yes.
We know about the trauma and the pain. It's just still
exactly.
made her different. So yeah, but let's put a pin in Jadis for a minute and let's go ahead and talk about, because you kind of brought up the idea of Jadis and everything that she kept from, you know, Rick, and the fact that she kept him from his family and how much they miss. Because while she's helping to keep Rick away from his family, she's having these annual meetups with Gabriel. You know, they meet once a year. I'm not sure where they're meeting. It was when he was in Alexandria. They were starving. We're assuming it was around the time of the Whisperer War, when they were hungry and things like that. Then it had to have happened when they were like in Commonwealth as well. Like, what did you guys get about that whole like connection they had, those annual meetups? Like, what were your thoughts about it? Well, either one of you. Ashley.
Ashley.
No, go ahead.
No. Go, please.
I was just going to say I hated it. I like, for the exact reason you said, Tanisha, she is getting to have this connection to Gabriel. She's keeping Rick away from his family. She's ruined their lives. And all the while she's, frolicking in the woods with this man, her ex, honestly. And it's just, it was so insulting to me, to Rick, to Michonne, to their kids, that like, she doesn't give them any information. She doesn't, give a hint. It's just, she's having this very selfish moment while Rick has been desperate all these years to get back to his family. And I hate her even more than I already did.
Mm-hmm. Monty?
I thought for a second that I was going to have to hate Gabriel more than I dislike him now, because I thought I briefly thought he knew like that she was coming and that, Rick was with her and stuff like that. And I was like, oh no. But,
God, that would be
comes
egregious.
to find out she was like being secretive about it and she wasn't even telling him anything. And I felt the same way. I was very like, how dare you be coming to see this man that you clearly care about? Because like, unlike you, I think we could have had less of those scenes or less in those scenes, but I actually understood the scenes. Like I understood what they were doing. Not to say that you didn't. I'm just saying I saw the thread of it, like, because it carries across the original show, World Beyond, and this, it gave Jadis a little bit more not justification in terms of what she's doing with CRM, but justification about like, well, not just justification, not the right word, but it explains why she still felt attached to Alexandria. Like, I don't know if you noticed, but she continued to refer to Alexandria as home throughout. She kept calling it that. Instead of just saying Alexandria, she was like, home, you can go home. I'm not coming home, like that kind of thing. And it was kind of like, so you still think of it, even though your tenure there was relatively brief, you still think of Alexandria as your home. And in some respects, the long-standing deal that never was between her and Rick makes a little bit more sense if you think that she had something to lose too, which she actually said in World Beyond, where she was like, there are actually people in this place that I care about, that I don't want, to see. I think she said it in World Beyond.
She said it in this
one too.
Episode 2 or 3.
She said, yeah, she said it in this one too, but I think she also said it in World Beyond. But like that, it's not just Rick who had an investment in keeping Alexandria safe. She low-key had an investment in keeping Alexandria safe too, because she's had people that namely Gabriel, that she cared about there. And thus, despite all the threats and everything that she was making to Rick, holding this over him, she also kind of didn't want, I think, she did not want Alexandria to be destroyed either.
Mhm.
And I just thought that was really interesting that you can kind of get that out of those encounters with him.
Yeah. One of the things that came up in one of those encounters is that Gabriel told her that Rick had come to him and wanted Gabriel to marry him and Michonne, which, wow, Gabriel's come a long way. I still remember when Rick would snatch down his flyers in Alexandria, and and I was here for it. I've never.
Yeah,
Gabe went into a little in Alexandria for me. I was kind of like, for some, done. And he never came out of it. I never.
Yep.
He got put on my list in a permanent marker. Like, he just never came. I was just like, how dare you? These people saved your lives. Now, having said that, in season 5, when they met him, they were assholes, and it's like they just ran all over him and his church, but we'll talk about that in another episode coming up. But I'm sure. But yeah, here he is. He tells Jadis how Rick wanted to marry Michonne, and then he had found this ring, and then for whatever weird reason, he gives the ring that he was going to give to Rick to Jadis, and then
as a symbol of love and stuff.
And then she kept it all this time and wore it around her neck, which okay, fine. I didn't really get it and why she would wear it like that, but so be it. So
she's using Gabriel's last name. Like, I just assumed it was, tied into that.
I guess. Two Dead Chicks podcast tweeted out. They were like, I can't believe people are questioning the chemistry between Rick and Michonne when Jadis and Gabriel were right there. And I can't argue it. In those moments, I was just like, okay.
Nope.
No.
Please be serious.
Yeah. So, and then at one point, I don't want to talk too long about these two, but yeah, I remember him asking about, food because the kids were starving, and she said no, like her community couldn't help. And then he makes a comment about her community because she volunteered that she was doing bad things, even cruel things. And he kind of threw that back at her. And she was like, oh, do you think I would be a part of the community that would let people? What do you mean? Like, yes, you would. You didn't even have to be a part of a community. That's just, you're
exactly.
What are you talking about? Like, y'all killed, how many people were in Omaha?
100,000?
100,000 people?
Yeah, 100,000
girl,
okay, so here's my question. Are we, The World Beyond exists, obviously. We all had the ability to watch it.
Mm-hmm.
Are we as the audience, I know Gabriel doesn't know this, but are we as the audience supposed to have that in mind that Jadis did this thing? Or do they think that was some secret show that we don't know about? It feels like this has not come up and now she's dead and I just don't know if we're supposed to connect those dots.
Because the redemption ain't working for me. Like, just from what you've done to Rick alone is bad enough.
Right.
Yeah.
I thought that she was going to mention, just to close the loop for people who didn't watch World Beyond and don't know that CRM actually did do Omaha. Right. I thought that in her confessionals, because that's really what they were with Gabriel, she was gonna actually admit it so that we knew, audience members who had not watched
exactly,
knew that CRM actually did this. I guess it's going to be in the echelon briefing next week, because I just don't understand how you would mention that and then never close the circle on that.
I thought it would be closed with her. Right.
Yeah, on this show, because we, it's weird. Oh yeah.
So okay, so that we get back to Jadis. After she gets chopped by Michonne, she runs out. They're chasing her in the vehicles. They ram her off the road. And then she comes across the 3 people that Rick and Michonne let live. Which, hey, because at one point Janice did say something like, you got to stay, it's like either you have your humanity or you save humanity. Like, it's almost like you can't have both. If you're going to save or protect your own humanity, the world is going to suffer. We're never going to get back to where we're supposed to be. But anyway, she convinces them, saying, hey, I'll give you safe harbor. You'll have a community with walls and food if you help me get away from these people. So they lure Rick and Michonne into this location. And it goes as bad for them as it would. I mean, they are immediately just dead, get bit, they're done. And then we have the part where she's shooting, Jadis is shooting at Rick and Michonne. And then we see that moment where Michonne says, like, we can't go home, right? And so she's very clearly talking for the benefit of Jadis, who for some reason, I mean, she just got dumber and dumber in this episode. Like, she believes them, even though she told Rick numerous times they could do anything, whatever. But it's also very clear, and Rick mentions it to Michonne later, that she wasn't just talking to Jadis. It wasn't just for her benefit, because you could see the way she was looking at Rick and the way they were looking at each other when they were talking. You could tell. But any which way, Jadis is like, look, if the walkers bite me, or if I die from this wound, or you kill me, like, that's it for your kids. Your kids are dead, because she's still holding that whole dossier with the information for Alexandria over their head. But for whatever reason, and maybe it's because, blood loss and she was dying, but she believes that, they have a deal that Rick is just going to go back to the CRM with her, and Michonne gets to go back home to their kids. And of course, they double cross her before she could double cross them. Although I don't know what her double
crosses were.
She was just going to kill Rick.
Would have been, yeah, that's what it seemed like. Yeah, I didn't get it.
Also, can I just say, she says to them in this moment, why should I trust you after all the shit you pulled? And I'm like, bitch, are you talking to yourself?
Again,
you have been betraying them since the day you met them. They're not the untrustworthy ones in this situation. Like, she is Delulu. I could not believe she said that out loud. Like, I know it's not just the blood loss, because she is crazy, but also I hope it's the blood loss. That was so stupid.
Yeah, she's been double and triple crossing people.
Since the day they met. That's how she met Gabriel.
Which is why it kind of doesn't make any sense that she would even say that, because she should already be suspicious of them because of her own nature. Yeah, she should have been like, y'all are gonna, whatever. Again, the double cross didn't even make any sense to me, so I was just kind of like, and when he was like, "Well, we got rid of our guns, you get rid of yours," I was like, "Why? Why would she get rid of her guns?
Why would she need to do that?
She's got supposedly the upper hand right now. Why would I toss my gun? Because Rick said it. I'm like, no, I toss my gun. Y'all shoot me or let me die or whatever. No, I'm keeping my gun so that we hold to our sides of this agreement that we've just made. She dumps the gun. I was just like,
an earlier moment before they come to their agreement, when Jadis is telling them, if I die, it's it for your kids. Remember the walkers were coming up on her and Michonne turned into a sniper.
Sharpshooter? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I was just like, okay, if you say so. I don't know what you've been doing while your husband's been gone, but it was pretty nice. But she, she got those single taps and it was nice. But but they get the upper hand on her. She gets, bitten by a walker.
One of the new people.
One of her friends. Mm-hmm. And so then it's like, we're supposed to have some kind of, I don't know, sympathy for Jadis because she's dying or whatever. And she starts saying all these things, how she had all these communities and she kept losing all these people, and how, she wished she would have died an artist, because all this stuff. But she does give the information about dossier, and she says that it's in her in her room with her belongings back at Cascadia Base. And that kind of brings us to a submission from Kia from Two Dead Chicks podcast. Make sure you guys check it out if you're not. So Kia says, regarding Jadis and her snitch files, is there any reason to think it would be in any other place than the base where she is currently headquartered? Rick's insistence that it could be at any of the CRM bases doesn't seem reasonable since she said she had it in her possessions. And remember, she did tell Rick that she had been, permanently moved to assigned to Cascadia. So she says, maybe I'm simplifying it and or missing a nugget from the world beyond that would explain his line of thinking more. No. Mm-mm.
I mean, that would have been the first place to look. So
right. And I feel like they could have done that before CRM knew Jadis was dead. So this was kind of necessary.
Yeah. So you didn't miss anything from World Beyond, Kia. It was just, I don't know, maybe he's still having these remnants of fear. He's just got to be an overabundance of caution and wanting to make sure or whatever. But yeah, it seemed like she said it's in my possessions and she'd already had a change and that's where she was going to permanently be. So I felt like, yeah, it's a good assumption that that's got to be the first place we go and check. But
do you guys think it is at all possible there is not really a dossier?
Yes, I've thought that.
Yeah, same. I thought too. Well, I thought before she actually told him where it was that there might not have been one. Once she actually said, "Oh, it's in my, my room," then I was like, "Oh, okay, so there was one." Yeah. Yeah,
but definitely when it first happened, when she first said it in like episode 2 or 3 or whatever. Because I was like, that's like one of those things people say, like, if anything ever happens to me, there's a safety deposit box at the bank and something's going to happen. It's like, okay, sure. But we'll see. So, like I said, Rick and Michonne, they were having a conversation. And the whole idea of basically saving the world comes up. And so we had our, our marriage counseling episode and we've come together, we saved people and killed Jadis. And in fact, killing Jadis. Both of them said with their whole chest how they wanted to kill her. Like Rick's like, I'm going to kill you. And Michonne was like, then can I kill her? And he was like, yes. And then both.
And then Rick was like, well, maybe maim her.
Yeah, so you can get the information first. If you have to.
Maim her. That was so funny.
But it was like, when they do it, he looks away and Michonne looks away. And I'm just like, I guess that's the humanity you guys have. But look, there was no redemption as far as I'm concerned for her, because she could have been mid-sentence. I would have popped her in the forehead.
Yes, I was like Diane Carroll in The Different World. Just die.
Michonne, in keeping up with her savage ways, she didn't let her die thinking the CRM had a chance to survive. Michonne was like, nah, he's getting this echelon brief and we taking down CRM because CRM ain't the way to do it. I was like, wow, that's some nasty work. I'm impressed. I ain't mad, but that's some nasty work. You saying this to her as she's dying. And but the one thing, and again, this is why I wish this was 8, maybe even 10 episodes, because Michonne says that the city I know or whatever, I won't stand for it. And I'm like, we didn't get to see, I guess it happened off screen. She was with the artist, but we didn't get to see her and I wish that we would have saw her engaging with people, or even seeing like Rick saw the people, with their protest signs and things like that. That would have been nice, which The World Beyond got 20 episodes. They got 10 episode seasons. And I was just like, I wish this one would have gotten 8, if not 10. I think 10 could have been a good number considering all the things that were going on, all the different kind of, because look, I guess we'll talk about it in the series wrap up.
talking point for the rest
Yeah,
of
but they did such a good job, especially in that first episode, of like pulling us in, like getting us to like buy in completely on Okafor and Thorn in less than an episode. Like, and then you have Esteban, and then you've got the whole idea of this huge city and this CRM not operating inside the, it was just intriguing. I wish we just had more episodes, but yeah. So they are basically, it seems like they're going to kind of go forward with Okafor's mission of changing the CRM,
which
talk about
I think it bears noting that was what Rick was saying in the episode prior, that they needed to go back so that he could get the briefing.
But like Michonne said, he couldn't do it by himself. He needed her.
Yes, because together they're unstoppable.
They could do anything.
Oh Lord.
But yeah, because it was like halfway. It was like this combination of the two of them, right? Like Rick's ideas would need to change CRM, and then Michonne's like, okay, I got to help you, but it felt like Michonne and I would understand, and I would agree, like the CRM ain't your business. Like, let's go home to the baby.
That was her stance last episode, that he didn't owe these people any more time or a thing or anything.
I mean, and I'm not mad. I don't understand why we have to. Why can't we go back again? I'm just selfish. I just want to see babies.
I was going to say, because that's not who they are. It's, save the people from the people.
Yes. I mean, thank you for bringing it back, because we had to hear that like 2 or 3 times too.
But that was also what Okafor had said about Rick from the first episode, was
that is always
the opportunity to save the world, you would have to do it.
I mean, that's the thing about this show, and I think why we were feeling the way we were is because we always knew where this story was going. Yes. We always knew it was going to have to be dealing with the CRM. Like, that's where all roads were leading to that.
Yes. And I did not know whether they could do it in 6 episodes. That was always kind of the thing that I was wondering about. And so, again, like we said at the beginning, season 2 seems inevitable. I don't know. Maybe we'll see.
It seems like it. Let me go back for a moment before we start talking about him getting on a knee and
but I'm not done with CRM.
Okay. Well, before I forget, let me mention before I forget, because I've forgotten a couple of times. On the way to the cabin, before they encounter those 3 people, they mentioned Thorn, and she was like, she's so into it. And he's like, well, he explained her backstory. But he also tells her how, even though he pushed her away, he was still, with her. He still loved her. He didn't stop loving her. So I just wanted to mention that, because he said, I never let go. I denied it, I pushed you away, but I never let go. Right. So but CRM, Ashley.
Okay. My notes that I wrote down did not help. Okay. So back to last episode, because we were talking about, Rick, this whole, martyr thing, I have to save the world, that was part of the problem between them. And I do think that it was more of them meeting in the middle and letting someone help him. Like, you don't have to go back and do this on your own. Michonne, I don't know if just the 2 of them is all they need against this giant army, but at least it's not just him, and maybe they can call it. I don't know what's going to happen with Thorn, but, it's not just him trying to take on this whole army by himself, half broken, together. They can do maybe not anything, but a lot of things.
They're not stoppable.
Here's the thing, right? I thought, because when we saw the helicopter leaving at the end of the episode, I was assuming that was Rick flying them back, but I don't know. I thought the ethanol in the back seat was going to be a thing. and that they were going to use that some kind of way with maybe blowing up a building with all the people at the summit and or whatever. And so I don't know what's going to go on with that ethanol in the truck, if it was just a, look, because I know they pan the camera back there and it's like, oh, we have enough to get home.
Right.
But that is not the only reason I felt like the camera was on the ethanol. I thought you were telling us something was going to happen with this. Like they say, you have a gun, you have to use it.
Gun.
Right.
Yeah, in Act 1, you got to use it. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And
so I don't know what's going to happen, with that. And I am hoping that Thorne is going to come on the right side of this.
Yeah.
I know she seemed like she was shook when she got the briefing. But I hope that she helps them. But the wedding, marriage, exchange of vows.
Is that what that was?
Something. I
thought it was a proposal.
Oh, was it? I mean,
I've seen both. I've seen people say both, so I don't know.
Yeah, true. I mean, Amani, what'd you think about him using the ring that?
No.
Okay, Ashley, what did you think of?
Right. Y'all are the worst.
Why is it y'all? I just asked the question. She was
birds of a feather. I need to go back to Gabriel, first of all. Because when I know, right? First of all, okay, when Jada said that was Rick's wife, he looks at her like she was crazy, and I'm like, "What's the problem? If you think Rick is dead, why can't she say it's his wife? Shut up." But anyway,
and they too old, not old, but they're not like little kids. Like,
right? There's no laws. Like,
that's what I would call them. Like, they're serious with each other.
Anyway. So that kind of annoyed me, but at least it led to that conversation. And you mentioned the bridge, and I'm like, Rick and this damn bridge. But it also made me think of, I don't know that this is a retcon or whatever, but I remember when Carol and Ezekiel got engaged, Rick was they made it a point to show Rick watching and looking on kind of fondly. And I think it was maybe a deleted scene where him and Carol are talking about that and them finding their perfect matches. And I wonder if his idea to get married on the bridge came then, like around that time, or was it before that? Do you guys have any thoughts about that?
No.
Well, I haven't seen that deleted scene, so I didn't even know.
Well, that part was the deleted scene, but him seeing them get engaged.
Yeah, I remember that. That was nice, and that makes sense though. It does make sense that he, as he's looking on, and he's like, of course, happy for Carol and stuff. That it would make him think about his own relationship. Like, that makes sense to me.
But
nothing. Let's go to the
onto the
proposal and all that, because we can talk about some other stuff when we have our wrap up. But yeah, let's talk about the proposal.
So as far as getting the ring from Gabriel, not really putting the connection together. I don't know why it had to come from him. Because honestly, when they were in the gift shop and he was looking kind of shifty and he picked up the necklace, I thought that's what he was finding, like some kind of ring. And I was excited. I probably would have even been fine if he had given her the necklace in this moment. But I want Michonne to have a ring. I'd like some diamonds, but not a lot of walkers around at this moment. So maybe that comes later. For now, it works as a symbol of their old life. That's what I'll say. And personally, I really did like the actual Rick dropping down to one knee, the proposal, till my last breath, I am yours, tears. It's not hard to make me cry, but I cried.
It was sweet.
It was very sweet. And when Michonne says, it only ever could have been you, it reminds me of, at the time when Rick and Michonne got together, then I had been saying that about Rick and Michonne. She'd be like, who else was it going to be? And, they were a family a long time before they were this family, and in a different way than the rest of Team Family. Like, they always had their little unit. Michonne continually kept this world together. Like Rick said, she put the world together for him, just like bringing the baby formula for Judith before she knew Judith existed. Like, this is them. This is, I'm yours. Oh my God, I'm fine.
Okay.
Don't even. I love it.
Chills.
So yes, so I mean, yeah, I mean, that was it. So we have one episode left. I hope it's like an hour and a half
2 hours.
or an hour or 70, 80 minutes or something. We'll see. I don't know. I feel like it's just, I think they had said it's like it's gonna be a story, these 6 episodes, and like dot 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 or something.
Right. Sandy said that, yeah.
So that will be interesting to see what happens. Overall, like yes, we were in our Roshone feels, I think. Oh, you know what? There was one more submission which made me laugh.
Okay.
It was from JoJo. JoJo said, I'm trying to convince myself I like episode 5. Watch this be the one y'all criticize the least. What do you think about Rick's
Shade.
proposal and the nasty neck contaminated ring? And I guess we talked about that. We did talk about how we did not like the fact that he used that ring. Hope he gives her something better in the future. I'll be honest, Jojo, because I had read your submission prior to us starting to record, and I probably would have said even less had I not read your comment. This would have been like a 30-minute video. But,
I mean, yeah, no, exactly. Because JoJo, it's a shame that you're being deprived of some of our opinions.
I mean,
blame your friends.
I think, like, let me say this, because I still wanted to wrap it up in a decent time. I didn't want to go like forever into it, but I also feel like this episode leads to not having a long reaction podcast. Like, yes, we got our Roshone feels, and it was really nice, and a lot of the callbacks, and like Jess said, it might have been a little like callback overload. Like it felt like here, take all this stuff y'all wanted, but that also goes towards what was lacking in the flagship show when it comes to them. Because I definitely want to talk about the fact that there were so many things that Michonne, as a woman in love, did not get the way Carol did and the way Maggie did. And we'll talk about that because once again, I'm going to put the link to our submission form in. We have a special submission form for our Walking Dead look back episode. That one's going to be, I think we're going to record that like April 15th, a couple of weeks after the finale. And we're just going to go over all things The Walking Dead flagship, things you like, things you didn't, things you wanted to see, things you wish you saw, things that you feel like you were thinking, but nobody else is talking about a lot. So go ahead and fill that submission form out. I think it's going to be open until like what? April 7th. So you have time if you want to just like gather your thoughts and your answers. Like you can go and look at it now and see what we're asking, and then you can just submit it later on. Anything else about this episode? But yeah, I just feel like this was very heavy Roshone. We got our Roshone feels. It was really nice. I wish we had more time to dedicate to more getting into the CRM because we only have one episode left because we only have 6 episodes. But any other final thoughts, Ashley?
No, I don't know. Again, I don't think we really criticized the last episode that much, but that I just gave us so much more to talk about. So in this episode, it was just kind of pretty straightforward, I think.
Yeah. I mean, and like she said, she made Michonne a certain way in the beginning of the episode.
Both of them,
led to more like criticism, but
it's called an arc, kids.
An arc, yeah, and we'll talk about that in our the Ones Who Live like special wrap up episode. Any other thoughts about this episode, Amani?
No, 10, 10, 10, all 10.
No notes.
Okay, don't lie.
Perfection, beautiful. Now you just being a mess.
Right.
But yeah, music was on point again. Cinematography was on point again. I will say that. I'm loving
The shots of
music.
Yellowstone were gorgeous. Yeah.
Yes, they were.
It's beautiful. Like it opens up this whole idea and had me wondering, like, what is it like to live here? Like live in this area.
Right.
Dealing with the apocalypse, because the roads are so clean and clear and everything. And I'm just
like Michonne said, there's nothing out here. I mean, much less population. So
but that's the case in real life. Like there's far less people out there. So I would imagine there are far less walkers out there.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
And,
also, is Michonne going to get her katana back? Because I need that to happen.
I mean, I think since that was another reason why you knew they were going back, was because she had to get her weapon.
But that's it. Yeah, that's in Philly though, right? I imagine.
I would imagine.
And they're going to Cascadia base. Right.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Well, they got to go back east to get to their kids, so they'll just
make a detour,
burn it down.
Plus, I mean, if
they can burn down the.
I'm just kidding.
But if they're going to incite the populace, like Michonne was talking about, the populace is in Philly. It's not in Cascadia.
They're going to have to go back, right? Because
maybe it'll be broadcast. Yeah, I was going to say it'll be broadcast on the news by the time they get back. CRM is just a mess. They can just run in and get that sword.
It would have been nice. I wish we would have had a moment again. We should talk about this later, but we had a moment where we saw like an actual protest. Like, I think that would have been cool to see that instead of just a couple of guys with the signs. But we got it.
Okay, everyone. So that's it for this week's episode. Thank you for watching. But before you go, tell us in the comments, how do you think episode 6 ends? No spoilers, people. And do you think Thorne will help Rick and Michonne or stand with CRM? All right. Don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe. See you later.